A Briggs & Stratton Flathead. The best four-cycle go-kart motor there ever was, in my opinion. Today we're going to rip it apart, clean it up, and take a trip down memory lane. The Briggs & Stratton 5-horsepower Flathead. The best four-cycle go-kart engine there ever was on a dirt oval or asphalt oval, in my opinion. If you were born pre-2000s and you're a dirt racer, you probably grew up racing one of these engines. And I wish they were still around predominantly in karts today. I think there'd be a lot more karts around. They're just so much easier to work on. But today we're going to rip it apart because my best episodes have been stuff where I rip something apart. So I found this thing, going to tear into it. Step 1, take your 3/8 wrench and check if there's any oil in it. This thing's been sitting around for at least 15 years, probably closer to 20. No oil. But so that's step 1. And step 2 is going to be take off the carburetor. So there's a good look at the carburetor. We used to call it the crack pipe carburetor for obvious reasons of its shape. They're pretty simple. There's a diaphragm in here, kind of like your bypass on a sprint car. And this one was a number 2. They were hard to find, and they say they were better. There it is. You can see that on the casting right there. Number 2. I'm pretty sure we found this off a rototiller. My dad went to some auctions and bought some old lawn equipment to find the best castings for carburetor. I don't know if it made a difference or anything. If you know a lot about kart engines, let me know. Were 2 carburetors better? Or did you like the other one was a 4? It was like a 2 or a 4. But this one's a number 2. Another cool thing. Happy Cap. This little center thing, if you didn't have that, we found out the hard way, you couldn't fill your fuel higher than this. If you would fill it up higher, it would bog and fart, and we wasted like a whole season on that. So you needed your Happy Cap, and then you could pack it all the way full, and I raced a 125 lapper once at Frozen Ocean Speedway, and this Happy Cap got me a top 5 because I only had to make 1 pit stop, and everyone else had to make 2, or most everyone else had to make 2. These carbs are also a bit of an ordeal to take off, you'll see in a minute, but this is a carb saver. You take it off first, and if you didn't have this, it would crack right here. We found that out the hard way first. So you'd either had a clamp that would go here, but this was easier, and it would also do the job, and that's your carb saver. It comes off first. My crew guys on the sprint car always ask me why this 3/16 Allen key long one is all turned down on. This is why, boys, because back in the day, we needed it to get in here to get this screw out of the carburetor. It's really hard to get these crack pipe carburetors off, so crew guys, that's why it's cut down. So you get those out, 2 3/16 Allen heads, and there's a 3/8 bolt down there. Take those out, and the carb will come off. All right, carburetor off. That bottom bolt is a pain in the butt. Glad I did it off camera. Definitely out of practice on it. When I was 12, I could get her in there and out no problem, but bottom bolt, pain in the butt, got it out. So carburetor over here. Or no, one reason why this engine was the best, especially for the junior divisions, is because we would just run a restrictor plate in between the port and the carburetor for the junior divisions. And there'd be a different one for junior 1, junior 2, and junior 3. And it was black and white. Like if you hogged out your plate, you were cheating. And nowadays with the overhead valve engines, they use this slide thing for the juniors. And if you take a turn out of it, your slide will go higher. So it's a bigger gray. It's not really a gray area, but a lot of the dads would be like, well, I didn't touch it from last week. You know that deal with the slides, and I hate that. It was way better with the restrictor plate, in my opinion. One more thing on the carburetor. This was your jet and idle mixture screw. You would screw this screw in all the way and then back it out. Turn in 1/4 to turn and a half. And then inside there was your jet. See if it's got one in there. It's got the jet in there. Can't really read it on here. What does this say? 60 or 49. 49 jet. And then, like I said, there was a diaphragm over here behind that. I'll do a separate episode on the carburetor, but these things are pretty cool. Up next, we're going to check out the spark plug. Used to buy these in bulk because just like a sprint car engine, you got to index them. Sprint car engines, you got a wider range. You can be between 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. You basically just don't want the dome piston to hit the electrode, but this one, because it's a flathead, your valves are in the block, unlike in the head. Flat head. The head is just flat. How it gets its name. the valves and valve springs and all that are right in the block. So you wanted your electrode pointed right at the piston. So it would be a much smaller range. You'd pretty much want it at 12 o'clock or a tiny little variance either way. So you'd go through a lot of spark plugs to get one, and you wouldn't want to run any washers underneath. You would have to run your washer for your tack and stuff. But yeah, index and spark plugs is huge on these. So we're just gonna pop it out and have a look for the first time in close to 2 decades. These motors used to run on alcohol too, so it used to smell like the sprint car pit area. It was the best. Now they run on pump gas and it smells terrible. Definitely a little fat. First time it's seen the light of day, 20 years. This thing's pretty seized up. Won't turn my hand, but you guys are going through this with me. I haven't touched this thing in forever, like I say, so she's seized up. Let's see why. So now we want to get the cylinder head off, but before we do that, we got to get off the front cover. That's just a 3/8 socket, and there's some bolts around the outside. That sounded good. And there's the old flywheel. A little rusty. Man, I love these things. And she's definitely seized a bit. And there's your coil. This is how you set the timing. There's a magnet on here on the flywheel. That's how you set your timing. We'll get into that later, but side cover off. All right, now we're going to take the head off. Need a 1/2-inch socket, but before we take the bolts out, I went and got the old torque plate the old man made for honing the block, just because I wanted to see the torque sequence. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I always use the torque sequence when torquing, obviously, but I use the same one when taking off. So I went to get this just to double check the sequence. And now we can take out the bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Basically just always going in a diagonal. The one for the small block Chevy's a little more intricate. Bolts out. Head off. And I think I found out why she seized. Ta-da. She's a little rusty. Up next, we're going to try and get the flywheel off. That's a bit of an ordeal too, but before that, we're just going to hit the bore with some WD-40. Try to loosen her up. It's basically a service rust. It ain't going to take much to get that off of there. Let's see if it'll free up while we're taking the flywheel off. There's the underneath of the head. There was rules from the top gasket face there to the bottom of all those pockets. This engine was built as a stock, like for stock light, junior stock, the junior classes. This was a stock class engine, so that's what the specs are. If this was a limited modified or something, you would shave the head way more, but there was rules to mic down into all those pockets. Next step, taking off the flywheel, 2 5/16 bolts. Ta-da! Up next, we're going to need our first specialty tool. This is for the flywheel nut. This is for the starter. It goes on there, and you hit it with an impact to get it off. Show you that in a minute. All right, let's hit it with the big burst of impact. See if the starter nut will come off. Oh, yeah. Another thing we would do to find horsepower is go through 1,000,000 flywheels and weigh them all. This one here says 6 pounds, 418 ounces, so we would weigh them that accurately. And yeah, that was another thing we would do. Go through 1,000,000 flywheels and take the lightest ones. And I'm also having trouble finding the puller for the flywheel, but I found this cool tool. This was for the carburetor. Look at, we brazed a Allen key head onto a cool, flimsy thing. So, going through memory lane, finding all my old cool tools. WD-40's already done its job. No longer seized. Suck, squeeze, bang, spark, and blow. Here comes the exhaust valve. Those are the 4 cycles of a 4-stroke engine. Alright, struggling to find my flywheel puller, but I think the crank will come out with it still on the crank. So, crank off. Clutch guard. And those clutch guard bolts were Loctited in. And then this last little cover with this tiny little bolt. It was already loose. Before we pop the side cover, we'll pop the valve cover off. This one's got a cute little holder for the vent tube, puke tank tube. That's incorporated into one of the bolts. That's a 1/8 Allen key. And 5/16 on that side. And there's your valve springs. Alright, now 3/8 pop off the side cover bolts. See what rod in it? I'm pretty sure it's a billet ARC rod. This was last built for senior. Senior stock, stock heavy, stock medium, stock light. Thinking the cam's going to be a Dyno Cam 7X. Just guessing. That was our favorite for senior, I think, when we retired from karts. We did do a couple kart engines still after I moved up to dirt mod and sprint cars too for some customers, but this was one of ours. And here we go. Moment of truth. Might need my dead blow. Alright, let's come give it the tappy tap. Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, taparoo. This has been a fun video. I don't even care if anybody watches it. Back to my childhood. Oh yeah, more rust. Gonna need a puller to get that off, but I don't know. Yeah. No, gonna have to clean the rust off to pull that bearing. Get the cam. Doesn't say what it is, but definitely, you can see in there, it's a cool billet. They just allowed those before you had to run the stock lawnmower rod. Briggs made a version of that, but that's a sweet billet rod. You could run that baby up to like 9,500, almost 10,000. We used to run this engine about 7,100, but I had a limited modified style engine at the end of my career that we would spin close to 9,000. That was a pretty cool piece. Alright, I hit the crankshaft with some WD-40 and some emery cloth. And now the bearing slides off. To get the little rust off. Let's slide this cam out. See what it says. And like I said, there she is. Dyno Cam 7X. I will look up the specs on that later, but that was our favorite senior cam at the end. I can probably find the specs on this build in my dad's old book too. So there's that. And then the valves come out, or the lifters. These are mushroom style lifters, like a Dodge. A Dodge will have this. And just I kept them on the same, you keep them exhaust intake. Make sure you don't mix them up. So I just put them on top of the corresponding valve. And now we can get this beautiful billet ARC rod off. And pop the piston out. I said earlier that you can get the crank out with the flywheel still on. Duh. No, you can't. But I'm going to pop this out, pop the valves out, and then put the side cover on and find my puller. Alright, I got the rod bolts loose. You got to put it in the perfect position to get your ratchet in there. But now I'm just going to wind them out with the socket. And we'll pop this piston and rod out. And I'll show you how pretty this rod is up close. Remember being so excited when they let us use them. You're able to, this style rod was like a limited modified or open modified controlled stock rod, and then they finally let them use them in the stock classes because the older rods were getting hard to find. And if you broke this rod in a stock class, you were doing something wrong. Alright, got it out. Look at that, it's got a cute little bearing in it. The stock rods didn't have that, it was right on the journal, but you got a cute little bearing, I love it. And then pop this thing out. There's the other bearing. And look at that beautiful rod. Love it. Not bad for a stock flathead. And then this piston, you can get a bunch of size. This one was 20 over. So there's your rod and piston assembly. Probably just going to throw this back in after we get the rust out of the block. Alright, taking the valve springs out was another tricky thing to do on these flatheads. You got to turn the retainer till this little notch is facing straight. Then you got to take this little fancy tool and try and push them up and squeak them out. I remember it being a pain in the butt. There, I got that one. There's your cute little spring retainer. And got the proper tool to pop the valve up. Then you can squeak the spring out. And the valve needs a little bit of deburring to get it out. So there we go, valves are out. And that's what you're trying to do with that tool. Get it in there and get it in that slot. And it stays like that. Flathead valves. And the other thing, get you a nice little shot here. My dad did a bunch of, used to have to port these blocks like crazy. I know it's hard to see. But he did so much porting in those blocks. Alright, and with that, other than the flywheel, this baby's all naked. Our flywheels were always hard to take off because my dad would use green Loctite to put them on because he was scared shitless of one flying off on the dyno in the shop. It never happened, but we were in tech one time and the tech guy used just like a hammer and hit it here, and like our competitor's flywheel fell right off that way. But we need a puller and some heat because ours is on there for real. This was a fun little episode to take this old engine apart. Definitely a trip down memory lane. Was thinking of my friend Steve Zelznak Sr., who always commented on my videos, big supporter. Hey, Steve. And thinking about my old friend Chris Long, who RCM Racing Equipment still is the go-kart supplier around here in our area. So go see Chris. If you've got some go-kart stuff, I'll probably go see him for some new head bolts, because these ones are pretty ugly. But I'll be seeing Chris to work on this thing, and want to put this on a dirt bike or something fun. Or we'll see what happens. I know they still run these at Brockville. So fun little episode. And then it wouldn't be a Cunningham custom engine video without a little sprint car content. Told you last week. Me and the boys were going to work on the filter base and getting the filter all mounted up with the stacks and the seals. Looks pretty nice. They're coming over again today, shooting on Sunday again. And we're going to drag the other car out of the trailer, and I think we're going to put a seat bar in it and start working on that other car, because this one's getting pretty close. This one doesn't have to race till Oshweekend, so mid-May. Seeing double in the shop today. Working on putting that seat bar in. Ran out of gas welding her in, but that's the amount I use. Kirky seats were designed for dirt modified, so in my opinion makes it easy to put a dirt modified mount in there. It's worked for me my whole career. And with that, that brings to an end another episode of the Cunningham Custom Engines YouTube channel. Like the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel. Hope you enjoyed the trip down memory lane with the old Flathead Briggs there. I love that go-kart engine. That's how I learned how to build engines, working on stuff like that. So if you've never built an engine before, just go grab an old broken lawnmower and rebuild that, because it's a good place to start and learn how everything works. Check out that Mark Martin drip. Love it. We're going to do like a vintage racing tee thing all summer during the races at Oshweekend. So if you've got vintage tees, dig them out. We're going to need them this summer. So like I say, see you next week. Like, subscribe, comment on the videos.